Our third Transforming Together working group meeting of the year. We'll give everyone just a couple more minutes to hop on before we get started. Okay, as you're joining, please make sure to sign in. I believe the San Bernardino team is going to put an attendance link in the chat.
Yeah.
There we go. As you join, please go ahead and sign in using the link in the chat. Welcome, everyone. Brittany, let me know when we're at a good number to kick off. I think we're getting close.
Yeah, I would give it one more minute, Renita, and then we're good to go.
Okay. Again, welcome. We're excited to have you here today. It is our third working group meeting of year 3. If you are joining the call, we ask you to please sign in using the link in the chat. Looks like Anne is having trouble with the link. So Karen, I'm hoping you can troubleshoot. All right. Well, welcome everyone. We want to kick off with a few celebrations. For those of you who were at the Breaking Barriers conference a couple weeks ago, know that we've officially launched the new Transforming Together landing page, which is currently housed on the San Bernardino County Office of Ed website and is being managed by them. We are so grateful for Addison Sains, who's done just a really great job building it out. And we're going to continue to add to that web page. So feel free to take a look when you have a minute. Brittany's going to put a link in the chat so you can access it. We're also really excited that we have finished the introduction and chapters 1 and 2 of the new implementation guide, which we are calling No Wrong Door, a guide to building an ecosystem of care. Those chapters are actually now up on the website. They're being designed for publication, and now we're actually reviewing chapter 3, and we're going to be talking about that today. You all got to take a look at the draft of chapter 3 as your pre-work, and so we're hoping to get feedback from you today and finalize that early in the new year. You'll also see chapter 4 in the new year and have an opportunity to review that as well. And we're hoping to have the full implementation guide ready by spring 2026. So really exciting news on in terms of the work of this initiative. I'm going to pause there and see if anyone on this call wants to come off mute and share something from your ecosystem work that you'd like to celebrate. Anything that folks would like to celebrate from your own ecosystem work. And feel free to come off mute.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Armando Lopez from Imperial County Office of Education. As we continue this work in creating structure for our ILT team, I just want to celebrate and highlight that some of them are here today in this meeting. So thank you for Imperial County and our ILT members for being here.
Terrific. Thank you, Armando, and welcome. Anything else folks want to highlight or celebrate? Okay, well, we'll move on then. So I just want to quickly review the meeting objectives and agenda for today. As I mentioned, we're going to move into reviewing the content for chapter 3. Just a couple of meeting objectives here. Sorry, sorry, Freddie. So we want to. So some of the content actually today may be a little bit new or maybe sort of beyond where your county's at right now, but we want to start to provide a roadmap so that you can see the progression of steps that's going to build toward that ecosystem. So we're going to dive in today with an overview of key concepts and a chance for y'all to work with some scenarios to start thinking about how you might operationalize the concepts. And so you'll see for our objectives today, we're going to start building a shared understanding of the universal service array and its role in equitable integrated systems. We're going to explore some real-world and simulated examples of how services and workforce strategies align across the agencies. We're going to engage in collaborative scenario-based learning to test some design ideas in different community contexts. And we're going to identify key insights, innovations, or motivators to strengthen the local ecosystems of care. And as always, we want to continue to build relationships within this working group. So that's the plan for today. On the next slide, you'll see we've organized the agenda accordingly. So we're going to do a mini lesson on the around the universal service array, do an interactive simulation, and then spend some time at the end of our meeting providing feedback on chapter 3 in small group breakouts. And just a reminder quickly about the 4 essential implementation steps for local, county, and regional leaders that are part of the ecosystem paper. So again, we're going to be focusing on number 3, initiate actions on service array and workforce. And again, this is sort of our journey for this year. Just a reminder about our learning arc and what we're going to be digging into in 2026 to finish out the year. Really spend time going through a structured progression of topics aimed at operationalizing key concepts from the implementation guide and ecosystem paper. Really help you figure out how you're going to go from theory to action. And then really, I think the rest of this year is focusing on emphasizing shared goals, equitable service design, and sustainable financing as we look ahead to the remainder of the year. And you'll see here where we are in our learning journey. We're in November. We're doing the intro to service array and workforce capacity. In the sort of the next semester or quarter, I don't know if it's a quarter or semester actually, January, February, and March, we'll be digging into designing universal service arrays, interagency data sharing agreements, and braided funding strategies. And then in the last 3 months of our time together, we're going to focus on funding and sustainability. And by June, we hope to celebrate all of your successes on this work. Okay. So with that, we're going to do a connector. We're going to go into random small groups of 3 to 4 people, and you'll be in there for about 8 minutes or so. And we would like you to introduce yourselves. Take about 2 minutes each to share your thoughts on either of the 2 questions. So if you were at the Breaking Barrier Symposium, share what's one thing that is sticking from you from the sessions you attended, and maybe talk about any next steps that your team came up with. If you weren't able to attend the symposium, we just ask you to talk about something you've recently heard or read that's inspiring your ecosystem of care work today. And I think Anne went ahead and dropped in those prompts in the chat, so you'll have them with you as you are moved into your breakout. So you'll be in your random breakout for about 8 minutes or so, and then we'll see you back here. Thanks, everyone. All right.
I think it's just
There
from
was-
the family.
Yeah, yeah.
Great job, Renita, getting us out the door.
Yeah. Were the breakouts a little big?
Yeah, they're supposed to be 3 to 4, but
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you want
Right,
us
yeah.
joining the breakout too?
No, it's just they were supposed to be 3 or 4 people, not like 8 people, because they're supposed to be smaller groups. But at this point, I don't know if there's anything to do about that.
I think we just stick with what we've got.
Yeah.
but it
It
does
just-
look like we can stick to maybe 4 groups because we've got 8 in each group, so we could stick to 4 groups for the, actually for both breakouts, really, instead of doubling up on any of them.
Agree. Now we just have to hope people are generous with their assignments, that they like spread out a little bit, like which I have to admit I'm not usually good at when I'm told that. I want to go to the thing I want to go to. So we'll have to encourage people to don't be too attached to their first choice.
So should we be joining one of these? Is there someone facilitating now?
No, we're not facilitating them. They are just sharing on the questions that we put in the chat. So it's just a connector. You're welcome to join if you want to, Elizabeth.
I'm just curious who's going to take the lead on that.
Well, since the point is for them to just talk to each other, they're not going to sit there in silence. So whatever they say is fine.
Oh, yeah, totally. No, totally. It's just there's this moment in the beginning where everyone's always like, wait, is somebody going to start it?
Back and apologies, those breakout groups were double the size than we had originally planned, but hopefully you still had a chance to connect and get to chat with the folks you met. I am really excited to pass this over to Mike Lombardo and Laura Kane, who are actually going to give us an overview of the key concepts from Chapter 3 around an array of services, and provide an example of how cross-agency teams in Orange County are integrating supports for children and youth. So, Mike, it's all yours.
All right, thanks so much. I appreciate all of you for being here today. If you're in the North State, it's a soggy afternoon. Oh, I guess it may be in the South State too. But appreciate you all taking time out of your Monday to be here. My name is Michael Lombardo. I know most of you in the room. Laura, do you want to pop in and introduce yourself real quick?
Sure, thanks. I'm Lara Kane. I'm the administrator for community schools here at the Orange County Department of Ed.
Awesome, thanks. Is anyone else presenting with us, Laura?
No, that's it.
Okay, great, thank you. So as we kick off, as Renita was saying, today's focus is going to land on the work that we've been doing and then tee up chapter 3. You're going to have an opportunity to explore chapter 3 and give us feedback today. So she's already talked about where we've been, so I'll jump into where we're going in chapter 3 in the next slide. So before I look at the key concepts for chapter 3, I wanted to place in your mind the 5 concepts of an integrated ecosystem. 1, thinking about that integrated system in a tiered services framework. 2, access for all. 3, integrated shared governance. 4, shared data. And 5, braided funding. So as I go through chapter 3, I think you'll see all those features show up as we review chapter 3 and as Laura talks about what they've been doing in Orange County. So our organizing logic for chapter 3 is that tiered system framework or multi-tiered systems of support grown out of the public health model with universal wellness and prevention for all. What are our target interventions for individuals, youth, and families and children who need a little bit more? And what are the intensive individualized interventions across multiple agencies and services? So this structure allows counties to identify any gaps, redundancy, referral pathways, and shared accountability across systems. One of the activities, in fact, that we're doing in Imperial County in December is to look at the tiered systems that each agency involved in the collaboration. So what is social services, behavioral health, public health, what are their universal array? And then finding those redundancies between each agency and the gaps. Next slide, please. Okay, so the key concept for chapter 3, it'll kick off with integrated leadership team and executive action committees as a system, as the system's connective tissue. So without systems leaders operating through an ILT, it's difficult to support integrated systems across your county. So it'll explore those features of an integrated leadership team. I'm realizing that this presentation might be chock full of acronyms, so we'll try to read them out for you because we're not all familiar with all the acronyms. Second, you're going to see the universal array of services, depending on your workforce and how it expands or how it spans multiple systems. You'll see that throughout your review of Chapter 3, the three-tiered system that I just talked about. Governance structures, shared tools, data practices, and implementation levers will encompass all of chapter 3, and you'll see that very much in Laura's presentation in just a few moments. All of this grounded in an MOU that operationalizes the ILT and EAC. In many counties, our ILTs are expanding their 2083 Memorandum of Understanding to include all kids, expanding the focus previously on foster kids. Still in those MOUs, but really looking at all kids and moving up to prevention. Lastly, the conditions for implementation, equity, shared protocols, and continuous improvement. With our data collection or key indicators of performance, we can create feedback loops from the community to the classroom to our EACs, work groups, right up to the ILT, and identify gaps or identify needs or identify how we're doing in the work that we're focused on or our problems of practice for the integrated leadership team. And so that's what you're going to see in chapter 3. I'll also invite you to look for those things as Laura talks about the work in Orange County. I've been honored to be part of that work that they're doing in Orange County. I think it's an exemplary example of large county systems coming together. Laura will spend more time telling you how that's organized, but it is truly a privilege to be part of that, the work focused on in Orange County. You will recognize that Orange County started this initiative as not one of the 3 or 4 demonstration sites too. The interest was so great they launched this work. Next slide, and I think we throw it over to Laura. Yep. Take
Thanks,
it away,
Mike.
Laura.
Yeah, like Mike said, we applied to be one of the 4 pilot counties, and when we didn't get it, thankfully, the current assistant superintendent at the time, Dr. Yamas, she said, "Well, we're going to do this anyway." And I was like, "Awesome, that's what I want to hear." She's like, "And we're going to hire Mike and Richard to help us do it." And I was like, "Even better, because we can't do this on our own." And that we started that journey, I don't know, a year and a half ago at least. And I think, intellectually, I know that it takes time. I say that, but then to actually be in it and have it really take time, I was like, oh yeah, it feels like we're going so slowly. It's taken us a year just to get to some of these parts that I'm going to mention. But of course it did, right? It's humans, it's change, it's complex, it's a big system in a big county. And so sometimes I forget, I have to remind myself that we're okay, that we're still taking baby steps, even though we've been at this for a year and a half. All right, next slide. So we first started kind of outside the AB 2083 group, but a lot of the same people, because Dr. Yamas had connections across the county, and that was such a big piece of getting this started, is her relationships. Like, I couldn't have called a meeting with all of those agency heads and deputy chiefs and all that and had them show up. But she started by just saying, let's get together and talk about what exists. On the side, I did a full asset map of all of the collaboratives that met in the community, because my own experience was being invited as the community school person. I was invited to like detect and connect and like all these different like prevention oriented collaboratives, which were great, but I was going to 6 different Zoom meetings with the same people in the room. And I was like, what's going on here? This is crazy. So I started the asset map on the side of kind of every collaborative that meets, who attends, what their goals are, and what their outcomes, have been so far, and when they meet, to hopefully see if we could reduce some of that, because they were all in very small niche population, population focus. So then we brought all these folks together, and that's how we decided that the AB 2083 ILT group was probably the best vehicle, because in such a large county, there's no way you're going to get all these people to do another monthly meeting at this level. So we had to can really go gently to the ILT group and say, hey, we want to come in and invite some new people and change your MOU. Are you cool with that? Like, we want to do things differently, a little bit. And that is what has taken a year and a half, is that right there, right? And they were open and curious, and everyone has really good intentions and wants the same things, but they were in a very specific lane. They were like, we do foster youth and juvenile justice. I'm probation. That's what I do. Like, I don't know about 0 to 5 prevention work, or, these other things that we started talking about. How do I fit in that? Where does my work land in this? Is it still important that am I meeting the legislative requirements of what we're supposed to be doing in this group? And, just all these questions that took, and we only meet once a month for, 2 or 3 hours or whatever. Like, it took a long time to really, um, flesh out those questions. And we had to, like, sometimes people would go far and they'd get really excited, and then they'd put the brakes on because they got freaked out about something, the way things were going. And then we kind of hit a good stride by, I would say, last spring. And then we like, the world turned upside down, and we had 3 people, all 3 co-chairs left. It was like, which happens, right? You have to be prepared for that. And I was not emotionally prepared for that, but I adjusted. I was like, oh my God, we worked so hard, we got so far. And then, so, Dr. Yamas left, and then the head of the chief deputy of social services left, and he was a huge champion. Probation co-chair remained the same. And so we had new people come. Like I said, I had this new assistant superintendent of student services. She's going to be the new co-chair. She's new to OCDE. And I told my little breakout group in the beginning, breaking barriers was the best thing for her, because she got it. Like, when I explained, because she's like, okay, I'm on this ILT now. What am I doing? Like, what is this thing that I have to go to every month? I'm not really quite sure. It sounds good, but I don't understand completely the why and what we're supposed to be doing. And so, but taking her to spend 3 days of just like soaking up conversations and the panels and the learning at Breaking Barriers, she is now completely like, okay, I get it. And that's what I needed. Like, I can't push this group of people, with all of my enthusiasm and excitement is not enough. Like, I need levers at that level to be the champion. So that was really, really helpful. So all to say, that's kind of like where we're at. And these are the things, what's up on this slide are kind of the things that we are grounding us, like what we want. We all agree that this is our goal. Okay, next slide. We have, the way we've decided to structure it, and I will say in the spring, that group did decide to change their MOU and broaden it for AB 23. And Mike and Richard provided some great examples from like Ventura and Tuwami that have beautiful language around all kids, and so the MOU is being changed. And then we also changed the structure. So we have a steering committee that's the 3 co-chairs, and it's nice to have 3 co-chairs, because even though OCDE is driving a lot of this work, we don't want to be seen as like the driver, the agency. That's not sustainable. So social services, probation, and education are all current co-chairs, and that'll shift. Like, that will rotate in, I think, a year or 2 years. I can't remember, but it does rotate. And then we're providing the backbone administrative support this year, but we'll have another one another agency will provide administrative support next year. So that's also really important, is to be able to shift some of those duties and to have one person that sends the Zooms and builds the agenda. But the steering committee is the three co-chairs, Mike, sometimes Richard, and myself. And we're just there to give them advice. They really decide what the agenda will be. And we meet once a month, a couple weeks before the next meeting, to plan the agenda and talk about anything that has come up. And then we have also included in the larger ILT, we added First Five because they had not been part of the ILT, right, for AB 23. They weren't a traditional member. It was the Regional Center and Probation and Social Services and Cal Optima and those folks. Adding First Five was essential. And that's also been a little, like I said, it's been a little bit, that's taken some adjustment because we're trying to, when I get to the key performance indicators, we're trying to really push for some measures that are preventative, 0 to 8-year-olds, looking at that and measuring that because that benefits, we're trying to prevent kids from entering those systems that are present at that table. So having First Five as part of that and her constant reminder of those preventative measures has been amazing. And also it took a lot of reminders, I think, to the larger group to make her feel welcome. Because she even said in the beginning, she's like, do I even belong here? What are we talking about? And we were like, yes. So there was just a lot of that too. So that's kind of how we've organized it. And then I talked about the host agency and administrative support piece. Okay, next slide. But I think what really, also before I forget, like those structures and the relationships that we had put into it and going slow helped us weather the bumpy road of all the leadership changes. I wasn't quite sure at some points. I had some panicked texts to Mike. I'm like, oh my God, I think it's all falling apart. But it didn't, right? And we're okay. But there was definitely, there's some moments where I really thought that all of this was going to fall apart because people left and champions moved on. And, that's so important. But luckily, I think the structure that we had has prevented it from falling apart. So we have priorities that we're working on. So we have to finish the language around the MOU, figuring out this kind of redundancy of meetings we're still working on. We're talking about our key performance indicators to build a dashboard of publicly available data so that we don't have to get the lawyers involved and people aren't talking about, all the stressful parts of data sharing. We're going to only focus on stuff that's already, because we have so much that's publicly available. So but even that is going to take a lot of time. But we're building some kind of dashboard, and they have, Richard and Mike both have examples from other counties that have built them even on spreadsheets, right? It doesn't have to be super complicated, that we can use as a guide. There's a lot of school of origin transportation issues that this group was traditionally dealing with, but having it broadened, I think, has helped for foster youth transportation, and then coordination and access and delivery of all health services, and using community schools to support the implementation of kind of the goals that they come up with. We're still trying to work on what are those 2 or 3 long-term goals, short-term goals that the group wants to focus on. We're still figuring out what those are, but for sure, one of them is going to be prevention, early childhood, 0 to 8, and then involve how can schools help with the goals that they're trying to achieve. But just, better coordination. If kids are missing school, you guys know, right? There's all these things that a doctor's treating for one thing, schools are involved, chronic absenteeism, it's all very connected. I sat through an enhanced care management meeting the other day that I didn't even know Cal Optima can provide all these amazing kind of out-of-the-box services to families through these nonprofits in Orange County. Like they said, they can help parents pay their car registration if that's the barrier of getting their kids to school. I was like I don't. So now we're connecting our community school coordinators to the enhanced care management folks, because there's just the ability to connect people in real time is going to resolve some of these barriers for families that don't neatly fit in one box. So that was a great example for us of just how we can keep connecting things. Next slide. I think I talked about a lot of this kind of. Mike, is there anything else you want to say about this?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Some of it is recapping the work that we've done, and in the interest of time, we can skip this one.
Yeah. Yeah, again, this is just kind of the coordination of care that we're trying to address. I think one of the things that we need to figure out still is that Orange County also built a pretty robust network of care through the ACEs Aware grant from the previous Surgeon General that operates, and it's called like Be Well OC, Orange County Network of Care. That's the community-based organizations that meet, and the United Way is the backbone of that organization for their collective impact work. And that is, those are all the programs within this ILT, right? These are direct programs through these. So they're getting the kind of feedback from the ground. It's like the grass tops and the grassroots, right? They're getting feedback from families, from service providers, understanding the barriers. How do we connect? I think we have still to figure out, how do we connect these two? Because right now, me and like one other person end up going to both meetings, but that's not really a sustainable system. So we have to figure out how to connect those two, because they need each other to really change how things practice on the ground. Anything else, Mike, on that one?
Think we're good.
Yeah.
I think you talked about this, the key performance indicators. So
These are
we're,
just
I think
graphs.
we're right on the cusp, right, Laura,
Yeah.
about identifying
We're
these
almost there. Like,
indicators.
we've given them lots of ideas. They've had lots of ideas. So we're trying to narrow them down.
These are just examples,
Yeah.
and it goes other direction, Jameen or Brittany. We are, keep going. One more. One more.
All
Okay.
right. So what next? So we have to develop our shared key indicators and remind them at every meeting that they have to pick at least one 0 to 8 prevention focused indicator, at least one. We hope to include our county youth judge. They're going to invite him, like we invited first 5, really kind of figuring out who's missing at the table. And then, like I said, connecting those grassroots to the grass tops and have one consistent member attend both and be the bridge. That's not me. What else, Mike? Anything else before we're done?
I think that's all. Thank you so much, Laura. I would want to recognize as you were talking, two things are happening simultaneously as we do this work in the demo sites as well as in Orange County. One, we're focusing on features for implementation. So the action plan that's built for each of the demo sites and Orange is pretty focused on what are those features and how can we build those features, like what Laura just talked about, the key performance indicators. We also wanted to acknowledge the problems of practice. So you'll see problems of practice show up. And I think having a problem of practice is essential engagement for the leaders across systems and an opportunity to exercise those new muscles that we're developing by bringing out the features.
Do we use Orangewood as an example?
Yeah.
Okay, so recently, Orangewood, our temporary foster care placement and group home situation, I don't want to say get in trouble, but was they want to have a conversation of,
They're
huh?
recognized. They're recognized.
They recognize that there's overstay issues. Kids are there much longer than they're supposed to be. And in the past, I think social services would have felt like they had to deal with this on their own with like a visit from the state agency. And, you know, through this process and the relationships, they've realized this is something we all contribute to, the school system, the social services agency. All of us have a hand in the overstay issues and can solve it together. And and Richard offered to come in and support this conversation as well. And they were just like, oh, well, yeah, that'd be great. Like you all want to come to these meetings with us. And so I think that is a really great outcome, even just in the trust that has been built and the conversations has allowed for better collaboration when we need to this is a great problem of practice that we have to figure out is how to reduce the time that kids are in Orangewood.
Great example. The others have been transportation of foster youth. You would think it would be easy. There's not much rural parts of Orange County, but it's extremely difficult. Children get spread out. The infrastructure for transportation isn't great for anyone in the county. So the team's working on that as well as general neglect, changes in the general neglect roles. So having the structure where we're focusing on those features again allows for that opportunity to flex and exercise the muscles. I think what we want to do now is turn it over to questions and comments from all of you related to what we reviewed, the upcoming activities of chapter 3, as well as your reflections on Laura's presentation. And you're all so quiet today, but if you know me, I can't stand quiet and I just pick people, so great to have a volunteer. Maybe a volunteer like Armando would be great. Get them
I can go,
flowing.
Mike.
Okay, go ahead.
Mike, I just want to, Laura, you just do such great work, and I appreciate all the work that you do, also with the family and the community work as well. So I makes so much sense that you rooted yourself in some main pieces there about what you want to accomplish. So great job, and thank you for sharing out.
Yeah, I think for myself too, for some of you, you might know, but Laura and I are also part of the Southern Coast RTAC, so we work very closely together with community schools. And so, it's just another great example of how, county offices can come together. And although OCDE was not selected as the demonstration county site, the great work that is happening and the testament to that, it does take time. And I think that we're experiencing something similar here as we've had a few meetings that it's going to take a little bit of time, but we also, when is that transition from taking time to build structure and foundation and then in the momentum you need to get some of this work going. So we're just starting to have those conversations because we know the work still needs to continue. And so that's something that we're going to be passing through in the next couple of months as we're kind of moving our work forward as well.
Thanks, Armando. I think as you were talking, I reflected on the work we've been doing and what Laura talked about is adding the managed care plan and then the critical participation of managed care partners. And I'm looking down at Dr. Arwakawa from Imperial's managed care plan, who's here today as part of now the CLWG too. So it's exciting to see that partnership with both managed care plans and First Fives. Anybody else before I turn it back to the team? Okay, well, Laura, thank you so much for all you do. It cannot be understated that she has been a motivation and a driver for the work in Orange County. So much appreciation to you, Laura.
Thanks. I couldn't do it alone though. So I rely on all of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you again, Laura. I want to thank Laura Hogan for putting her thoughts into the chat. And how about we give a little shout out to Mike and Laura in the chat? Just a little hello, jazz hands, reactions. Love seeing it all. Great, thank you. Hi, all. My name's Anne Duffy. I'm excited to see you all again. And I'm going to be moving us into another breakout, but this is going to be us taking the opportunity to really dive in and get our hands messy with a fictionalized scenario around these key topics. So next slide, Brittany. We designed 4 scenarios really to give you a chance to explore how you might solve some common problems in working across agencies to develop an ecosystem of care where children and families can find the support they need and navigate the system without having to tell their stories to several different agencies and fall through the gaps. So I realized that everyone's working in their own context. So our idea here is we developed 4 fictionalized scenarios, although they're going to seem very familiar to you. We did use real data from California to give them a little zhuzh them up a bit, but we're going to ask you to pick one of 4 scenarios. In each scenario, you are going to be presented with a description of a fictionalized county, a snapshot of that county's data, and a little comparison to state data where it's available. And then we have also developed roles for you to take on. So you can choose to take on the role that you do in your regular life, but you could also choose to take on a role something that is not. So if you're working in a county office and you'd like to take on the role of a caseworker in the health field, feel free. When you're in your breakout groups, you'll have an opportunity to read your scenario, pick a role, and then each one of the groups actually has a task that you've been assigned. So in this facilitated group, you'll pick a role, you'll read about your scenario, and then you're going to try to solve a problem together. Next slide, Brittany. So I'm going to walk through the 4 scenarios right now, just so you can get a sense of maybe where you might want to go. So the first one is around universal supports for all. And the challenge here is about inconsistent SEL. So we have a county that's rolling out trauma-informed practice initiatives, but the district's SEL curriculum doesn't align with the mental health education programs. And so there's language confusion, there's process confusion. And the task is to actually develop a shared language framework. So in the time that you have, you're going to wrestle down some of the key concepts, bringing your own expertise in, but thinking about the practical needs of this particular scenario. So that's one. The second one is building access pathways. And here the challenge is fragmented intake. So in this scenario, a student has just been referred from the school, but the school-based clinician, the county mental health and family navigator all have different intake forms. I actually had many conversations with you about this very problem when we were at Breaking Barriers. So the student is actually not sure what the next step is. So your task is to actually outline a shared form. So you're going to have officially an emergency meeting to design a 3-step intake process. You're not going to overwork it, but just sort of get your big ideas on paper that ensures that this family, it only tells their story once. You also need to decide who's in charge of the first step. So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is about expanding the workforce. So here we have a pipeline emergency, and the pipeline emergency is that the local behavioral health agency just lost 2 clinicians. So they have about a 1/3 turnover rate on the regular. So they have these new certified wellness coaches who've been trained, but have nowhere to be hired because there's no mechanism for shared funding or shared staffing or coordinated funding. So people get siloed. They might be trained, but they're not able to actually do the work. So your task is to actually create an incentive package that might include signing bonuses, loan repayments, whatever, for one high impact non-licensed role that can be hired and retained across 2 systems, at least health and education. So you're going to solve your emergency by creating an incentive package that gets people working where they need to go. And then the 4th area is about sustaining integration when you don't have a lot of resources. So this might also sound familiar. In this community, the challenge is that they are facing a funding cliff. They have a 3-year federal grant, funding the county's only regional service hub. They've got a 6-month runway to figure it out. If they don't, they will lose telehealth and in-person counseling for their students. So what is the sustainable funding model? You need to, as your task in this room, identify 2 sustainable funding services. You can only do 2. Pick 2. And then figure out the blended or braided funding strategy to sustain it beyond the funding cliff. I know these scenarios might be all too real for some of you, so you are welcome to pick one that you are currently facing, or you can pick one that sort of expands your brain a little bit. So we are going to open up 4 rooms in just a minute, but I've dropped into the chat. Oh, that didn't actually drop. Here you go. A link to a Google Doc. And in the Google Doc, there are 4 tabs. Each tab has a different scenario in it. So you pick the tab and read the scenario of where you want to go. Your facilitators will help you navigate if you're not familiar with the Google Doc tab structure. But this will be your home document for when we're in our breakout rooms. You can pick room 1, 2, 3, or 4. Again, you don't have to go to the problem you're most familiar with, but you could. And when you get in there, you don't have to pick the role that you're currently doing, though you could if you wanted to. So are there any questions? Oh, thank you, Brinny. Brinny's showing you what the Google Doc looks like, and the tabs are on the left-hand side. This is like my new favorite innovation from Google is the tab structure. So it'll allow many people to be in the document at a time. And it also means that even though you pick one room, you'll still be able to see the details about the other scenarios. So before we break, are there any questions about how we're going to spend the next, 20-ish minutes, 25 minutes?
I'm sorry, you put it in the chat. I think it's my organization. I just have trouble accessing Google Docs.
You do. When we get into the room, whichever room you choose, let me just ask the facilitators can download a copy and then upload a copy into the chat. That'll be
And I put them
actually
I put them all on LiveBinder, so they're in a PDF form if you aren't able to open Google. So at least you can see the documents.
San Bernardino to the rescue. Thank you so much, Karen. Great. Any other questions before we get started? All right, remember, pick one room. You will be there for about 25 minutes. So relax, introduce yourself, pick a role. And we will see you back here at 25 past the hour. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Brittany and Ann, as people.
All right, I'm headed over to 1.
Paula, do you need some help?
Oh yeah, sorry. The fire alarm was going off in here and I was like, I couldn't think, so it just stopped.
Okay.
How do I join the room again?
At the bottom, you'll see breakout room under the
At the
more.
bottom of which screen?
So
or which...
your normal Zoom screen, you see participants, chat, react, etc.
Oh, I see participants,
and
chat,
then on the
react.
right side, it says breakout rooms.
AI companions, apps, record, more.
Click on
join breakout room.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. I guess I'll do this one.
Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna go to.
did not. Yeah.
Are we back in the main room or is this still our room?
I think it's the main room.
I think it's the main.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here people come. Maybe I hit the wrong button. Karen, I assume you're going to be able to report out for us if we're called upon.
Maybe I took notes in the Google.
Yeah.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, everyone. My brain is exploding with new ideas, and I am inspired by the acting ability of some of the folks in room one who both provided good ideas, but also fully embodied their roles, which I deeply appreciated. Thank you all very much. Again, those scenarios are all in the same, you have access to the information. We really appreciate your gamesmanship to engage and hope that you all learned a lot from each other during the time that you had. So we were going to do a bit of a debrief, but I actually think we're going to transition to our next activity. As you reflect on the activity that you just had, want to make sure that you all do take a minute to remember something that you learned and think about how to apply that to your own situation. All right, so with that, let me transfer back to Brittany. Take it away.
Thank you, Anne. Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Group 3. Also, awesome actors. So good. We are going to, those of you who have been around the CLWG for a while know that we came to you with Chapter 1 for your review and Chapter 2 of this implementation guide that we're developing, that Elizabeth and Mike and Richard are mostly writing. And so the group has finished Chapter 3. We sent that to you all as pre-work. We'd like to just take about 20 minutes and capture some feedback from all of you on these chapters. As you know, you hold expertise in lots of different areas, so it's been super helpful to get your feedback. So what we're going to do, though, we're not going to ask you all to offer feedback on the whole thing. We've divided it up into sections. So there are 3 sections: the why, which is sort of why the rationale for a universal array, etc. The what, which is about the core competencies, the core things that are needed to be put in place to set up and manage a universal array of services. And then the how, which is really a section about tools and strategies to actually get that done. So we are once again going to ask you all to self-select into those 3 groups. I believe we've got 2 versions, two breakout groups for each one of those 3 sections. So feel free, if we're trying to keep it to 5 or more, but not more than 10. So if one of the groups has a ton of people, if you could select another group, that would be great. Again, we are not looking for wordsmithing, grammar, design, anything like that. We are looking for whether this is clear to you, whether the concepts are made clear, whether this is going to be useful to you or any other interagency team or county or health office that might use the guide. So are there things missing? Are there tools you'd like to recommend? Was there something unclear about the way something was described? Those kinds of things. This will go through a copy editing and a design process later, so please don't worry about that. We're really looking for what your comments are around the content. So this is the way we're going to break this out. So there are going to be 2 breakouts for the why, 2 for the what, and 2 for the how. You should have a copy of the draft chapter 3. These are the page numbers that relate to the sections that we'll be asking for feedback on in each one of these groups. So you can, yeah, you'll be able to choose these. Are there any questions? Okay, if not, feel free to pick one of the groups and join it, and then we'll come back in at 10 minutes to the top of the hour at 10:50 and do some closeout. Um, uh, let's see, where am I here? Oh, okay. So Karen's going to put a link to the exit survey in the chat. If you wouldn't mind, please completing that. We absolutely look at it and use it to improve these meetings so they're more interactive and more geared towards what you all want and need. So please do complete that exit survey. Take a few minutes. We are also collecting opportunities for how we're going to share this work. So we did a big session at Breaking Barriers. For those of you who were there, you would have seen it, talking about what Transforming Together is doing. We created a postcard for that event, which I will send you in our follow-up email after this call, so that you all can use that postcard if you want to disseminate the work of Transforming Together, and also it points people towards the website. In addition, I just wanted to say we are moving away because of your feedback from last year and from the September meeting. We're moving away from doing county-specific breakouts in the CLWG meeting. You all now are getting one-on-one coaching and so forth, and so we're kind of doing more events like you saw today, scenarios in mixed role groups and things like that. But we do want to hear from the demo counties, because part of this work is you are piloting some of the implementation, and so we want to hear how it's going. So in January, we're going to ask you to work with your Transforming Together coaches to just do a kind of a slide or two that is an update on your work in the pilot counties. And this is kind of what it will look like. We'll ask you to talk about what key topics you're talking about with your ILT, any progress highlights aligned to the goals that you've set for yourselves, and any challenges to raise at the next CLWG meeting. Because if you send those to us, we can develop an agenda that focuses on some of those things perhaps. So look for this in January. We'll send it to you with a good amount of time ahead of time, so you'll have time to just create. And we're not talking about something huge and onerous, but we just want to make sure that we're hearing how you all are implementing and what you're coming up with. Just a reminder of our next meetings. We do not have a meeting in December. We'll come back together on January 26th. And we're going to be going further into chapter 2, looking at some tools, talking about universal service arrays and workforce development. And last but not least, I'm going to turn it over to Farah, who has an announcement.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to share that the Wellness Conference, some of you recall attending it the year prior or part of the CLWG meeting before the conference, but we have this conference called the Wellness Conference. It's in partnership with the San Bernardino County Department of Behavioral Health, and our call for presenters is now open. So we wanted to share that with you. You can see a QR code directly on the postcard. We will send this out in the follow-up as well. I'm putting the link in the chat. And so we would like to have proposals that cover mental health, physical health, culture and climate, and integrated systems. And so we have up to about 60 breakout session opportunities. We'll have 3 keynotes, and it really is a statewide conference supporting the work that we're all doing. So we're hoping that we can get some great breakouts and that you could also attend. So thank you.
Thank you, Farah. All right. Well, thank you all very much for spending the 2 hours this morning with us. It was great to see you all. And again, fill out the exit survey. We will see you again in January, and I will send you the deck and other materials as follow-up to this call, so you'll have it. Anything else? Questions? All right. Everyone take care. Thank you. Happy holidays.